Renowned for her engaging presentations, workshops, and her TEDx talk, Surpassing Your Personal Best, she has also earned accolades such as the 2024 Award of Excellence from the New Jersey Black Women's Collective and recognition as one of New Jersey's best 50 women in business. She earned her MEA with honors in finance and risk management and also holds numerous professional designations, including CPCU, ARM, and CHFC. In addition to this, she's also an avid golfer, world traveler, and runner. Please join me in welcoming Rita William Bogart.
Thank you. So out of everything I do, the one thing I don't do is sleep. That's all. That's it. As far as running has become a passion of mine. I started running at 27 skinny. So now I keep track. I have a virtual runner on Google Maps of all the continents, countries, and states in which I've run. So I've run on 5 continents. I have run in 14 states. This afternoon, Missouri will be 15 because I'm going to run the trail at Shelter Lake Park. I had to find, where can I run? I got to get it on Strava because if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. Who's going to believe me if it's not on Strava? And so I gave you the states and the continents, countries, about 12 countries, I think, that I've run in so far. My next vacation will add another one. So I get to do what I love to do. And this is one of the many things that I love to do, is spending time giving back to the insurance industry. I earned my CPCU a long time ago. And the one organization that has been a constant in my life has been the CPCU Society. When I left my corporate career, I used to work for this little insurance company out of Bloomington, State Bar. And I left there as a director of underwriting to figure out, what do I want to do when I grow up? Having grown up, fighting it, kicking and screaming all the way, that adulting thing is just, I like doing this. And this is one of my shots. I like us to start in somewhere wonderful in the world. Any guesses as to where this is? No, I haven't been there yet. It's a long flight. Nope. I almost had come back to the east. I'm in the Midwest right now. I always have to think, where am I when I'm giving those directions? That is Renaissance Island, which is in Aruba. I go places where I only need to take one plane. I live in New Jersey, so Newark Airport's 20 minutes from my house. 4.5 hours after getting on plane, I'm on the beach. Yeah. So keep warm, wonderful thoughts in mind as we talk about ethics under pressure, building resilience in the gray zone. I love interaction, so please, let's make this a conversation. If you thought somebody was just going to stand and give you this boring talk about ethics, you're going to be disappointed. Because I do my best not to be boring. And with the focus on the theme of building resilience, I like the idea of connecting ethics, ethical behavior with resilience. What I didn't tell you is I also chair the ethics committee for the CPCU Society. I'm in my little Rio. So January, I started. So let's talk about, what does it mean? What is ethical resilience? And so let's look. Uphold integrity under pressure. Because there's always some kind of pressure, whether it's to get something done, or somebody wants to take a shortcut, or I'd rather be here, but I need to be there. How am I going to do both? So there's something that we might say, I got to make a decision. And one of my goals is to leave you with some tools today. Core to trust, compliance, and culture. Our organizational culture. Our industry culture. I heard somebody talking earlier about commercials about the big insurance companies. We're still trying to win that battle. Still trying to beat that PR nightmare. That was the case when I worked at State Farm. I was in public affairs. And we had to develop this messaging. And all these years later, we're still looking at that messaging. Even my family. You mean I pay all this money and I have a claim? I don't have a claim and I don't get my premium back? These are my kids as adults. And then one had an accident and he said, oh, no, I understand. Now I understand. Because USAA has a vet. Goes beyond the rules. Because yes, we have rules that we need to follow. We have our code of ethical behavior, our codes of conduct. What are our core values? I recently had the opportunity this summer to present a similar session in Portugal. That was rough. Yes, somebody had to do it. And it shapes our long-term reputation when it comes to the combination of values and how we want to be perceived. What do you want somebody to think of you when you're not in the room as the professional? So now get your phones ready because I'm going to flash a QR code up on the screen. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm using my Surface as my controller. I'm having a blast. I'm telling you. So ethics being the ultimate pressure test. It sets the stage for the clarity, for the direction, for guiding us. Yet there could be some challenges in behaving ethically. So, what do you think might be the hardest part about making ethical decisions? And this is anonymous. I'm not tracking IP addresses and all of that. As you respond, we're going to see the results real time. So you can snap the QR code and it will bring you right there. It doesn't tell me who, just tells me how many. 32 so far. What I like about this app is it reorients based on the percentages and you get to see it real time. I'm a kid in the candy store with stuff like that. We'll give it a few more seconds. But still far and away, lack of clarity. Because how many times are there situations that just don't seem to be clear? How do I make this decision? Is this gray or not? Hence the title of being in the gray zone. Kind of glad that fear of consequence wasn't the biggest, because that speaks to a completely different mindset. I'm going to do right because I'm afraid I'll get in trouble if I do wrong. We don't want that. Don't want that to be the driver. The lack of clarity. Good. That then leads me to what we're going to talk about. Some areas where ethics and ambiguity meet. I bolded the 3 that we're going to focus on this morning. So I value client pressure. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. But just think about that $1 billion client who doesn't want to give you all the information. Or something changed and they kind of forgot. When I was in charge of auto underwriting, I actually had an agency manager call me and ask me why was I penalizing a parent because that kid they forgot about in the household who never had access to the car got into an accident on his way to work. And gee, what did we do? We rated for the risk. Well, you're penalizing our client. I'm going to lose the whole household. Really? How is this penalizing? We're doing what's right. Oh, we're doing the right thing. Technology and AI bias. We have 3 scenarios that we're going to ask you to discuss in table groups. And then loyalty versus objectivity. It's my friend, my colleague, my boss. Cultural norms versus policies. And then leadership accountability. We don't have time to do all 5, so we'll focus on the first 3. As we're leading to that, though, I'd like to hear from you. What comes to mind when you think about ethical challenges? What does that mean to you?
I'll start. I was cybersecurity, so the thing for us often is trying to be ultimately secure, but then the business still has to run the business, right? And how do you balance that between your ethical obligation to protect the company as much as you possibly can
Okay.
versus protecting the opportunity if you do business.
Good one. Thank you. And I have a set of later about sharing passwords. I tried to touch all bases.
I love it.
Thank you. Who else? Other thoughts? Somebody already broke the ice and went first. Okay, no worries, because you will have a chance to talk to each other. So being ethical, having resilience helps us to withstand those pressures that can come up when that agency manager says, why are you penalizing my insured? Or, we just forgot to tell you about the change in location or the change in the business. It helps us really test our mettle. It lets us know who we really are when we're looking at those challenges and how we navigate. When it comes to teams, and that's where the culture of an organization comes into play. If the leader of the team and the organization believe in promoting ethics as compared to taking shortcuts, then the team is going to follow, which then also helps to enhance the culture of an organization. And then, of course, that leads to trust. Can I trust my colleagues? Can I trust my coworkers to make sure they're doing the right thing? So setting up 3 scenarios, and I'm going to ask you in your table groups to, one, I'll give the idea, the overview. Then I'm going to ask you to pick, what would you do? I'm channeling John Quinones right now. Did anybody ever watch his show, What Would You Do? He was our keynote speaker for CPCU in Hawaii. Yeah. I heard his voice because he filmed in my town a couple of times. And I'm walking in the conference center and I'm hearing that voice. I ran over. Hey, we need a selfie. Okay, as long as you tweet about it. So I did. I'm not on X anymore, but it's changed. So, first scenario. We discover one of your agency's top commercial clients quietly removed a required liability coverage from their policy because they want to save money. Because too many people commoditize insurance. It was a change made after last year's renewal, but your system didn't catch it for some reason. Nothing against cyber. The system didn't catch it for whatever reason. And so compliance, whether it's your corporate underwriting, says, you know what, you have to suspend this account because the coverage has got to be right. Sales, on the other side, says, wait a minute. Let's give them a heads up so they can fix it. We don't want to spook that $1 million client because they might take all of their business with them if we penalize them for not telling us about the change. So you're caught between compliance, customer retention, and internal pressure. What would you do? We give you 2 or 3 minutes in your tables to come up with the answer. So we have a number of stakeholders in this situation because we've got the client, we've got compliance, we've got agency, we've got the regulators, and future claimants to take into consideration as well. And that puts some ethical tension on us, tension between regulation and compliance. Let's hear some of the answers. Who chose A, say nothing, the agent will fix it on their own? Who's willing to even admit? Who said B? Okay. And what were your thoughts there?
To me, I would want to alert managements, probably give the agents time to possibly work through with my oversight. Yes. I would want bigger picture involved, so I wasn't in this alone. This was more of a consensus decision, so that's why I was...
Okay, good. Notify the client directly. Okay, what's your thought?
Certain situations when we become aware of what would be a major gap, you owe it to the client to let them know, this exists, we have found this. There are cases where we will endorse a policy, and we let the agent know, but we'll endorse the policy.
Okay. Good. And I like the phrasing that you used, because it wasn't accusatory. It wasn't, you all move this coverage off your policy. What do you think you're doing? That might be what you're thinking. That isn't what we're going to say to them. Who chose D? Was willing to raise their hand about choosing an anonymous response.
Okay.
I included D for a reason. I can say this without naming names. There was a time on the agency side where the philosophy was you never give back any money. So if somebody's premium went down or they were entitled to a refund, you sell them something else rather than give money back. Well, there was an agent who was going for their securities license, and one of the underwriting managers heard about it and realized, I don't know how it came to that manager's attention, but that agent had been rolling on coverages without the insured's permission. That manager happened to be one of my direct reports, didn't say a word to me, didn't run out the flagpole so we could do something. He called the code of conduct line. It was broader. Yes, that was my look too. I was proud of himself. That's right, this was wrong, so I called the code of conduct because he shouldn't get a securities license. Yes, the code of conduct line is there for a reason. Give us a heads up so we can do the right thing. That ended up turning out to be a huge project because we then had to run every single piece of business that agent was responsible for decades. Identify when coverages had been rolled on, contact the policyholder to find out, do you want to keep this coverage or do you want a refund with interest? Yeah, because the company culture was to do the right thing. That was a big process, absolute big process. I won't say how our senior executive team felt about that. Suffice it to say, they weren't happy about how it came to be. Not that they weren't. It wasn't that they were unhappy that we found out. It was the process. Here's our second scenario: AI. Who besides me is an AI fan? Oh, well, of course. Chat's my friend. I have to give a plug. I'm speaking at InterRisk, and my session is Leading with Heart in the Age of AI. So it's about protecting people as well as the tool. So we've got a new AI-based claims triage system. So the system is looking for potentially fraudulent claims. It looks at data points, geography, frequency, how long the narrative is about the claim. And then you notice certain zip codes are starting to get flagged, even if the claims are legitimate. So now you're concerned because these zip codes may be underrepresented in populations. The data scientist says, oh, well, the algorithm is right. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Yet you have some concerns. What do? Override the AI? Halt the rollout? Escalate to ethics or legal team? Or keep using it and see what happens? I'll give you another 2 minutes. Mission systems and the errors that are happening. Wrong people are getting arrested because the data has one configuration, but we're also buried as humans. That people are getting misidentified. There was a guy who was arrested in front of his small children because of facial recognition, and it turned out he wasn't the criminal. I mean, the police stormed in his house. I mean, the words, the stuff you see that you really don't want to see out there. Yeah. Once I start down the wormhole, I ain't so deep in it. Yeah. Good. And so our last one before we move into some tools, a framework for resilience. So here it is, you're a claims manager. You're reviewing a high dollar property claim because there was a storm. That happens. That's part of what we do in our business. However, you recognize the claimant, somebody you used to work with, and you're friends with them. And yeah, we follow them around LinkedIn. So we might be waving, supporting, liking, hearting, whatever it is on LinkedIn. No indication of fraud in that claim. Everything seems to be legitimate, but other people also know that you know this person. So there could be a question, right? On top of it all, your team is short-staffed. That's kind of like the norm, right? The team is short-staffed. You're having a hard time meeting your service level agreements, getting things done when they need to be done. And if you give this file to somebody else, there's going to be a delay. You're already under pressure with not enough people. Just like when I picked up the rental car yesterday. The woman said, is there any damage? And this was the first time I forgot to check. And so we're walking around the car and there are all these scratches. I'm pulling out my camera because I had my big camera with me. And I'm taking pictures. And she says, I'm putting it in the notes. I'm still taking pictures. And if anybody challenges you, tell them, look at the notes. It's in here. Okay, that's what you are. How about recruit for some situations like that? What I'm going to do from now on is make a video. I learned that from my son. Oh, why didn't you just make a video? Because my camera was full. My phone was full. Who chose B? Recusing yourself. Okay, tell us more.
Not necessarily just the hand off the assignment, but meaning to switch
Okay.
so that you just take yourself out of that situation that it you do with it.
Okay. Prevention. Yeah. Okay. C, talk to your manager and sigh together. I see some nods. Okay, tell us more. Why would you bring your manager in?
Yeah, we decided. We felt it was safe to declare so that there's no confusion.
Yeah.
No. Capable scooter top, and on the description there, he says that they're friendly and occasionally follow on LinkedIn. I follow so many people from shelter on LinkedIn, so it's just kind of, it's kind of a community thing. So how do you not, you're a local underwriter or local claims adjuster, how do you not?
Right. Right. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't mean that I'm going to do something unethical just because I know them. And you're right. Because one time I was going through my LinkedIn and I said, wait, where did I meet this person? So sometimes you're accepting things and wondering, do I really know them? What's going on? And it could be that as well. Okay. So what'd you think about those scenarios? Helpful? Give you something to think about? Okay. Moving into a framework for resilience. I like to identify what the issues are, give you some tools on how to solve them, and then we're going to have some rapid fire scenarios to look at red flags. And then you're going to use your phones again to create a word cloud. Told you I'm a big kid. Well, not all. You want to hide something from me in my house? Put it on top of the fridge or in the oven. I won't find it. And that's what they do in my house. Pause, probe, and protect. I like alliteration. Make things easy to remember. When we're faced with a situation, take a moment to catch a breath. Let me just pause rather than react. Pause. What's my gut telling me? Does something not feel right? Does something not seem right? Is there something that's creating a question? Probe. Not the light like back in the day where you're asking rapid fire on people. Who's affected? What's at stake? Think in terms of the long term. If I make this decision today, what might be some long-term consequences of this decision or of this action that I'm taking? And then protect. Protecting the people, protecting our organizations, our industry, protecting our reputation, and of course, integrity. So here's a scenario. So I've moved from claims to underwriting now. We've done agency claims and now underwriting. So commercial underwriter, you're reviewing a renewal, long-term client, because we want those clients and customers who keep coming back and referring us, of course. The producer calls you and says, you know what? Let's just push this through as is. We'll fix it later. I told them the premium wouldn't change. Nobody's ever heard that one, right? You guys to hear that. But yeah, we want to keep the numbers the same. We don't want to charge them more. And you're looking at the file and you found out, wait, they're not doing business in this state anymore. They've expanded their operations. Think about what happened when people started working remotely at the beginning of COVID, where folks were saying, I don't have to live and work in the same place. I can be in Switzerland doing my job. People were doing that. I wasn't one of those. And so you notice their new exposures. So what do you pause on? What is something that you would think through in a situation like that? What would give you pause?
Changes of the sense of urgency.
Yeah. That sense of urgency especially. Hurry up, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Okay, I need to step back and not jump in. What would you probe for? What kind of questions would you ask? What do you want to find out?
Do we even write and staple the page?
Right? Sure. What else might you want to know?
But it's still right, the same thing. It says potential use.
Right. They could have added a completely different rateable, completely different line of business in there that maybe you don't insure. Don't know. And then what are you trying to protect? What's that?
Company interest?
Company interest? Yes.
Clients?
The client. Because if they've got an exposure that they think is covered, or rapid fire red flag scenarios. These are micro scenarios. So they're quick. And I'm going to flash 5 of them one at a time. Of course. I'm not that bad to you. One at a time. And by a show of hands, I'll ask who sees this as a red flag, who says it's not a red flag. And then I'll want to know what are some of the indicators for whatever your decision is. So first one, you got a $150 holiday gift basket from a client. You've worked with them for years. It's addressed to you personally and sent to you at home. Don't ask me how they got your home address. We can't hide. There's this thing called Google. We can't hide. Is there a red flag there? Who says yes? Who says I don't care on the gift? Okay. I won't ask you to put your hands up on that. So where is the line with the gift?
Corporate gift folly.
Yes. That's it. Clearly delineated corporate gift policy. Yes. Because if the policy says don't accept anything, or what if the policy says, well, if they send it for the whole department, is that okay? I was facilitating a code of conduct workshop for a municipality. And somebody said, well, if they bring it in and just drop it off, what am I supposed to do? Turn it in? Maybe. It was food. If somebody's baking it, I'm not eating it. Could you never know? There was one of the colleges that I work with as an adjunct. Their code of conduct policy comes out about now, October-ish, and it's all about the holiday gift. And it comes out from the ethics compliance officer. So you know, I can't take anything. And so not only can we not accept anything, any gifts, we can't decide what charity to donate because they want to make sure no one charity is being favored over others. So we actually have to let the ethics officer know, I received this gift and this is who I want to donate it to. We don't have to ask their permission, and we do have to let them know. One of the other colleges, Walden, where I used to teach, they said, oh yeah, no problem. And I'm thinking, if somebody failed my class, I am not eating the cookies they bring in. Because it wasn't that they failed, it was that I failed them from their perspective. So yes, being aware of that. Second scenario, Upline sends you a claim file and says, we made this need to look cleaner before the audit. Can you fix it? Maybe they didn't say, would you? They said, shit. Red flag? What do you do? And where's the line? Your boss is asking you to do something. That's probably one of the hard ones. There was a study done, and I believe it was by EY. I have to look in my notes. And so many people were doing what their manager asked because they feared the pressure, even when they knew that what was being asked of them was unethical or incorrect or inappropriate. Don't be that person. Told you this was coming. Password share. Oh, let me go back for a moment. I kept this one in because I know of someone when self-audits were being performed, that person would go to every one of their direct reports and say, you're only submitting the well done, the well done items for this. You're not going to submit anything that's going to make us look bad. Yeah. That was one of those, I wasn't that person's direct report. I found out about it later because now I'm in charge of the team and I'm ethical. And all of a sudden our performance was going from this to this because now it was real. The results weren't sanitized. There was a whole nother lesson in there too. Because I sure heard about, what are you sending these bad results for? Okay. It was the password share. Somebody's out sick, so you're asked to log into their system using their credentials to get that file moving. The client's waiting, or the claimant is waiting. Whatever the case may be. Red flag? What do you do? You're like, I am not saying anything on that one. I get it. Again, I knew people who would put their passwords on Post-it notes and then stick them on their computer screen. No, don't do that. But let's call somebody or text them or Slack them, whichever Teams, to say, I'm not going to be in. I can't do this. Would you take care of it for me? Just log in with my ID. Number 4, resume enhancement. Anybody here on the HR side or hiring side? Somebody lists experience at a company that you know, and you realize they kind of inflated what their role was. I mean, nobody ever relies on resumes, right? Everything else was fine, but they made their job look better. It's bigger than it actually was. Red flag there? Yeah. Yeah. Because then it makes you wonder, what's the person going to be like when they're in? Can I trust them if I hire them? If they're lying on their resume, they're making things look bigger and better than they are. There's a question there. I was interviewing a candidate for a supervisory position. And the person said, she was in claims, and she said, I'm doing my best to contribute to the company's bottom line. So whenever a claim comes in, I shave a few dollars off the payment here and there. And I'm sitting there, wait, did I just hear that? Trying to keep a poker face. And I have a hard time with that. And I said, so tell me more. Why are you doing this? That's the probing piece. So the pause was, wait, did I just hear what I thought I heard? Let me take a breath. And I said, so why would you do that? Well, we're trying to save money and we don't want our expenses to be way out there. And I brought it back in the conversation and said, our guideline is we pay what we owe. Nothing more, nothing less. So if you're going to be working in claims, you need to do what the person is entitled to, not try to save money. Save money by being more efficient. Save money by recommending the right sources, not by not paying people. And she thanked me for that because she genuinely thought she was doing the right thing by the company. Because sometimes I wonder what's going on in a person's mind, right? Last one before we do our word cloud. Convenient omission. Yeah, producer leaves out known property damage on an application because they don't want to trigger a higher premium for that long-term client. And now I'm going to date myself. We had a client who came into an agent's office for car insurance. And you know that sticky paper that you can put on shelves, shelf liner? The person had that in 4 or 5 spots on their car. And they said they were decorating their car. They were trying to hide damage. People think you don't jack. I don't get it. I really don't get it. We'd say this is a red flag, right? We could all agree on that. Great. So before we get to our word cloud, what are some thoughts, some questions that you have or comments that you like to make? Has this been helpful? Have I kept you awake first thing in the morning? That was my charge. Okay, so get your phones ready for a word cloud. What is one thing you will do to strengthen your ethical resilience? You can pop in a word, you can pop in a sentence, and it'll build a word cloud for us real time. So we've gone from what would you do to what will you do? Pause, great. Oh, be confident with your own judgment. Yes. Lead through actions. People watch everything we do. They hear what we say. They're watching what we do. Trust my gut. Yes. Increase awareness. Wonderful. Ask, well, yes. Ask those open-ended questions. The who, what, when, where, why, and how questions to get some probing done. I'll give it a few more seconds. Couple people are typing. I love this. It tells me people are typing. Okay, somebody's typing. So while folks are intentional integrity, yes. Being intentional about it. It shouldn't be accidental at all. Every ethical decision we make is like building a house. It's a brick in our foundation of resilience. You want to keep building so that you have a very strong foundation. Before I close, who are the new designees in the room? Are they here? Congratulations! Wonderful. Excellent. So that's a little bit about me. There's a lot in the book. So I'm not hard to find. Please reach out, connect to LinkedIn. I will know I met you in Missouri. LinkedIn, and if you want to watch my TED Talk, it's on YouTube as well. So Amy, thank you for inviting me. Everyone, thank you for your hospitality and your engagement. I love it when there's interaction. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rita.